Hi everybody and welcome back to Apple Cottage. This is Sandy and I am Suburban Homesteader Wyoming. Well, today we are jamming. Literally we're jamming. We're making strawberry rhubarb jam and raspberry rhubarb jam and just plain rhubarb jam. What could be better than that? My philosophy is, can you have too many rhubarb plants? I don't think so, because there's so many things you can do with them. So, I already cut up rhubarb for the raspberry rhubarb jam. And one of the bowls for the strawberry rhubarb jam. So we're going to just work on another bowl of strawberry rhubarb jam. Now what I do is I pick my fruits, my rhubarb, my strawberries, my raspberries, anything I'm going to use. And I like to chop them up, mix them together, and add the sugar. Then I put saran wrap over the top of them, and I let them sit all night long on the counter or on a table. And what I find is that that sugar just pulls those flavors out of the fruits or vegetables or whatever I'm making the jelly and jam with. So I'm going to move the camera down and we're going to chop some rhubarb. Now I have a lot of rhubarb plants. Not a little bit. I haven't, tonight I filled up my entire other sink with rhubarb, and I didn't even go into my big rhubarb patch. I think on Saturday, or maybe Thursday or Friday, I'm not really sure, I'm just going to put a thing out on Facebook and say, hey, I'm going to cut my rhubarb. Anybody interested? Because I have just an overabundance of it. So what I do is I am just chopping them, throwing them in the bowl. Now, when I'm making jams and jellies, a lot of them for farmers markets, I use my Cuisinart to chop these babies up. But I'm not making that much today. And actually I'm making it tomorrow. I'm not even making it today. And so I have some time, and I love the process of cutting. I find it very relaxing. I like the sounds of it. And it's very down home and homey. So what I like to do is put in about 4 cups of strawberries, 8 cups of rhubarb, and 2 cups of sugar. And that's how it's going to get marinated that tonight. And with the saran wrap over top of it, it will actually heat up a little bit. Not like on a stove or anything, but it'll actually heat up, and the juices will just come out of the rhubarb and the strawberries and the raspberries. I'm going to chop some strawberries now. Now I'm putting in some clips because my mother does not chop strawberries. She uses an egg slicer. And I mean, it's fun. If the strawberries are too big, it doesn't work very well. And if you have a cheap egg slicer, you know, the type that folds together and has the wire and it slices the eggs, and you try that with your strawberries, the wires will break. So I put in some clips. I did some of the cutting like that just so that you would get the idea. And so I'll put those clips in now. Okay, so I'm going to cut strawberries. I like to slice them off. I know you can buy the pinchers. In fact, I have the pinchers that pull it off. But a lot of times you leave that little green part in there, and I don't like that in my jam. And so I just slice it off. I know that I waste some of the strawberries, but It's okay. It's strawberry season. And in fact, tomorrow I have to weed part of my strawberry bed, and I'll do a little video that won't be very long, just a couple minutes, that will show you how I cover my strawberries, because I have lots of birds and lots of bird feeders, and sometimes I paint rocks that are red and it kind of fools them, but after a while sometimes they figure that out. And so I'm just going to do a short video with that. But let's chop some strawberries, because we are jamming. Now I'm not going to use my big knife when I'm taking these, and I just throw them. Now if you had farm animals, chickens, you could give them those strawberries. If you don't, you could throw them in your compost, because nothing from your vegetable garden should ever go to waste. And so I just like to do several of them first, and then I'll go over and just slice them. It doesn't take very long, and if you have a good egg slicer, by all means, use it. But I mean, I have an egg slicer. It's not a very good one. I think I probably got it at the dollar store. And you really need a strong wired one. So I'm just going to go through and I am going to cut all the 4 cups of strawberries and the 8 cups of raspberries, and we'll be back. So all my strawberries and the rhubarb is cut up. Note, see all those seeds? You can save those seeds and plant and have your own strawberry plants. I've grown strawberries from seeds multiple times. And in fact, most of my big strawberry bed is from plants that I grew from seed. So what I do is I mix this up. It's easier if you use a bigger bowl, but this is one of my favorite bowls. Then I'm going to pour 2 cups of sugar on there, and I'm going to mix it again. And I just want to incorporate that sugar all through there. And it doesn't take long. You know, the sugar filters through. It's like sands in an hourglass. And so I'm just mixing that up. And even with this little bit of mixing, and it's sitting with it and being cut, the juices are starting to come out. Now, after I get that incorporated, what I do, first I wash my hands. Because they're sugary. It's a very messy job jamming. Then I take saran wrap. Did you know that there's holes at the ends of the saran wrap? And you poke those in on both sides so that the roll stays. Sorry, I don't have that up high enough. See how it has holes on both ends? It holds this roll inside so it doesn't come out. Now I think they make these boxes a little flimsy, so I put a piece of tape on each end. And then it stays there for sure. And see how it just stays right in there? You never have to worry about it. And then I'm just going to pull that, center it, and I like to use 2 pieces of saran wrap. Personal preference and based on the size of your bowl. So this is going to sit till morning. After I fix Joe breakfast and I do my chores, I will be making jam and we'll be back. So I have 2 bowls like this. 1 bowl with raspberries and rhubarb, and the next one I'm going to do is just rhubarb. Same process, only I'm going to use 12 cups of rhubarb because I don't have any raspberries or strawberries to add into it, and the 2 cups of sugar. Beautiful bowls. This is the rhubarb, and I ended up with about 20 cups of rhubarb, so I added 3 cups of sugar. A strawberry rhubarb, another strawberry rhubarb, and a raspberry rhubarb. Now, sometimes if I have a lot of time, I will actually do this and then put it in the freezer and freeze that. Because the freezing process, and when it goes to unthaw, it actually breaks down the cellular walls, and so even more flavor comes out. In the morning, we will be making jam, because we're jamming. Oh yeah. I wish they could figure out a way that you could smell things through YouTube. Somebody make be a billionaire. Oh my gosh, it's just fabulous, the smell of it. So I'm going to take, sorry, I had to reach for my spoon, and I'm just going to stir that up a bit. Now remember, because we put 2 cups of sugar already in here, we have to subtract that from the total amount of sugar that we're going to use. And I'm going to pour all of this juice, all of the fruit, into a pan. And a good stock pan is priceless. I know that sometimes a stock pan can cost a little more than what you really want. But I've had these for a lot of years. They're copper on the outside, they're stainless steel on the inside. They heat up so evenly. Rarely would I burn anything in there. I'd have to really not be paying attention at all. So really the investment in these is well worth it. And literally, this will last me a lifetime. I have a couple of these, and all my regular pots and pans are the same company. So we're going to pour our raspberry, our rhubarb, and all those juices into that stock pan. So we have our raspberries, our rhubarb, and the juice that it made last night. To that, I added 6 teaspoons of lemon juice and 10 teaspoons of calcium water. Because as you know, the pectin you use a calcium water which activates the pectin, and so that it does what it's supposed to do to thicken up the jam. Now remember, we already added 2 cups of sugar. So I have 2 more cups of sugar in this bowl, and I added to that 10 teaspoons of pectin. And you have to incorporate this very well. It's okay if the sugar lumps when you first put it in, but you don't ever want the pectin to lump. And so I'm just going to set this to the side while I wait for this to heat up. You should have your burner at medium, medium-high. The higher you have it, the more you have to stir, because you don't ever want it to burn. And so I will just keep my eye on this, and when it starts to boil, we'll be back. So now that we've incorporated all of the sugar and pectin in there, I'm just going to continue to stir it. At this point, it's really important to stir. You don't want to go away from your stove and have something start to burn at the bottom of your pan. If you have different kinds of pan, never use aluminum pan when you're canning. It has a reaction sometimes with different foods, and so a good heavy stock pan is the one to use. And I'm also using pint jars today to can in, wide mouth and regular. I took them out of my shed, washed them all up in really extremely hot water. And I figured my family and friends and my kids would appreciate the bigger jars. So the water is continuing to heat up over here in my canner. And I will be back when this gets to the boiling point. So it's starting to boil. And it's still frothy. And I don't like that froth on my jellies and jams. And so I'm going to let it get a little bit more boiling. Just minutes, seconds actually. But what I'm going to do is, this is regular butter. And I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter in there. And that will really help with it. Now if there's any left after it melts and I take it off the stove, I will skim that off. Not that you can't have it on there, but I just find it a little more attractive without it. So I'm going to stir that, let it melt in there. And what I want is when this starts to drip and the spoon starts to cool, a wooden spoon will cool much faster. And see how it's getting more stringy when it's dripping? That's what I want. And that's when I know that my jam is almost ready. Now, I don't like jam stiff like jelly. I like it a little looser, personal preference. Totally up to you. My butter is melting, and so I want to keep stirring that so it'll incorporate all. And that way when I take it off my burner, and those bubbles that are the boiling bubbles settle down, I shouldn't have that froth on there. Now I really want this to be pretty much a rolling boil. And I'm just checking my spoon again. And as the spoon starts to cool, see how my jelly is stringing? My jam is stringing? That's what I want. Can you see that in there? I think so. So as soon as this butter is all the way melted, I'm taking it off the burner. And then I'll show you me filling the jars, all the steps that I do for that. It's very simple. Jams and jellies are simple to do. I don't know why everybody in the world doesn't do it. It tastes so much better than store-bought. And you can make that jellies and jams with so many different things. And you can stand by the pot and smell it, and it is just amazing. Okay, all my butter is melted. So I'm turning that off, and we're going to move this pot. My pan off of the burner. And as you see, all that froth has gone away from that tablespoon of butter. Now when I go to fill my jars, I always use 2 glass measuring cups. This one stays in the pot all the time, and I pour it over here. It helps it so that I don't have a lot of dripping. And see how easy that is? You just fill it up, and we move to the next jar. I like to put most of it out, and then I'll come back and I'll just fill any jar that I need to up a little bit farther. Now, with the sugar, and the fruit, the juice that it made, I think I should get about 5 pint jars, where if I had jelly jars, I would easily get 10, maybe 12, depending on how full I filled that. If I ever have ones that don't fill up all the way, I just let them sit on the counter and cool, and then we're using those right away. But I love how nice and thick it already is. Now I'm going to fill a couple of those a little bit more, because I think I'm going to have a partial jar. I have found that if you use wide mouth versus the regular, sometimes it's a little variable on how many jars that you can get. Now I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to just clean this one out, because I'm not sure if I can fill this up all the way. If I do, great. If I don't, that's okay too. I'm going to take this one because I'm going to just pour the rest from the pan. But it's already starting to thicken up. It's just lovely. I'm going to set that right inside there, my wooden spoon, and then I'm going to dump this in there. Oh yeah, it's going to easily fill it. And you know what I'm going to do is I have a little tiny jar. I'll put that in my boiling water, dry that off, and this one will just go right into my refrigerator. And it's just perfect timing because my water is boiling on the stove in my canner. Let's just put this in there. What a fun little jar these are. That pan is hot. I think I need a little teeny bit more light there, and I think I can just scrape that last little bit out of here. So we got 5 full pint jars plus our little mini jar, which is half of a jelly jar. Then I'm just going to go through the process of wiping these all off, and we will be back. So I have all the lids on, and you just want to tighten them finger tight. Don't yank it on there. But is that a lovely color or what? I'm just pleased with it. So these are going to go in the canner because where we live, we're going to put those in the canner for 15 minutes because we're almost 5,000 feet above sea level. And while those are in there, I'm going to start my strawberry rhubarb jam. When I go to put it in my canner, I like to hook the rack on these edges, and then I'll evenly space these because it won't fill up the whole canner. I have a double batch of strawberry rhubarb, and so that will fill up the whole canner. But this will be perfectly fine. I think I'm actually going to just throw this little one in there too. Now remember, it's boiling water, so when you take it down, be extremely careful. So it sits right in there. You always want about 1 inch of water over the top of the jar. Put your lid on. Put your timer for 15 minutes. And it's going to work its magic. So that's in the canner. Always remember to like, subscribe, share with the world. I totally appreciate it. And I was thinking as I was putting the raspberry and the rhubarb into those jars, I should give one away. And so on Friday I was giving it away anyway to have 1,000 subscribers. And actually today I think I'm going to hit 2,000 subscribers. So that's even before Friday. And so I think I will give a pint jar of the raspberry rhubarb jam away. So all you have to do is say, I want to win below. And on Friday when I draw for my other drawing, I'll draw that too, and I'll send it out to you. So I'll be back and I'll show you a few clips of when I'm doing the strawberry rhubarb and the regular rhubarb. All the recipes will be below. And it is a wonderful gift of knowledge to know how to make jams and jellies. So I hope you try them too. And we'll be right back. So here we have the strawberry rhubarb. And I decided to do them individual. I didn't double it, the 2 different bowls. I just did it the one because I'm already making my recipe a lot bigger than it was otherwise. So I have the calcium water, the lemon juice in there, and I'm just starting to cook it medium to medium high, just like the raspberry rhubarb. And I will be back when it's boiling. And our strawberry rhubarb is starting to boil now. So to that, of course, we're going to add our sugar. Always remember, if you put sugar and let that sit overnight, subtract that from the total amount of sugar that you're making in your jelly. The pectin's incorporated in there. And I am just going to mix this up so it's completely all the way through. And we're going to put it back to a full boil. Just like the raspberries. If it gets too frothy, I'm going to put a tablespoon of butter in there. Putting up the just plain rhubarb. It looks like applesauce. Lovely. Here's all the jam. Plain rhubarb, 9 pint jars. Strawberry rhubarb, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, plus 3 little ones. And the raspberry, I have 5 pints and 1 little one. So we were just jamming today. I love making jam. It's so fun and satisfying. Now the rhubarb, you can eat on ice cream, on pancakes, any kind of dessert stuff. But I also like to put it on meats. And you can mix it up with some barbecue sauce. And so today when I barbecue, I'm going to smoke the ribs first, and then we're going to barbecue them. And I'm going to mix a little of the rhubarb jam with some barbecue. It's going to be so good. Now remember, if you want to win a jar of the Raspberry Rhubarb Jam, just say I want to win, or say I'm jamming. So this is Sandy at Apple Cottage. I am Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming. And as always, like, subscribe, share with the world. Thanks so much.